Kia ora, bros and girls. Welcome back to the channel. We're back with Chapter 3, Map 1. I've done this run once and died hardly to Ebony Maw, so what I've done is I've come back and I've brought in a ton of science champs, and we'll explain why that's going to be good later. But the first fight you have here is Ebony Maw, and it's going to be a little bit of practice for the main Ebony Maw boss. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use Void. Actually, I'm going to try to use Wasp against him, because she's my highest. And we're going to go into a little bit of his details later on, but this guy, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of PI. He should be fairly straightforward to fight. So yeah, I'm going to come into here. With Wasp, you can do 5-hit combos, and they won't miss your heavy, basically, if you get into the combo. I'm just going to evade that. 1, 2, and then get back in. And there we go. Nice and easy. Taken care of. Actually, she worked really well against him. That's interesting. I might see if I can one-shot him with her. Anyway, so let's keep moving on. There's a few different paths. I'm just going to take the right one because, like I said, I've done this one before. I've decided I'm going to take the outer path, and I don't think there were any path of particular note that are going to be difficult here. I think it's just mainly that Ebony Maw. So yeah, he's going to be tricky if you don't have high level science champs. Have someone that can deal with him pretty well, or if you don't know how to play around him. So once we get to him, we'll probably see his skill set a little bit, see his nodes, and explain a little bit more about him. But for now, let's just clear the map. There is also, well, let's just wait till a little bit later on, because in case anybody like fast forwards through this path and goes to the end of the bosses, then maybe it's better to discuss all that near the end. So the line is actually a little bit more tanky in Chapter 3, so it can take a little bit longer. I can't one-shot with Corvus right off the start. I haven't brought in Proxima because I don't need the Proxima synergy in this particular one. I'm not going to run into any evaders or auto blockers actually. So what I wanted to do was just bring Aegon and Corvus kind of to clear the path all the way up to the boss, and have my science champs to be able to have multiple shots at Ebony Maw, because science champs do make things a bit easier, and we'll explain that a little bit later on. But you can do it without a science champ. You just have to be a little bit more skillful, a little bit more on the ball, and a little bit mindful of Ebony's actual abilities. So as you can see here, you know, it still takes a few hits with against Chapter 3. Like, it's not like without charges you can't just charge in there and just expect to one-shot opponents with Corvus. You still have to play a little bit of a smart game. You have to throw a couple of mediums here. You have to throw the SPs at the very last second to make sure that you can get that massive crit in assassin range and finish them off without your Corvus charges, without your glaive charges expiring. But once you've picked up one, then it's straight sailing. Not super straight sailing, as you can see. I mean, I've only got like 8 left, but a little bit easier. Got to worry a little bit less about the charges. So keep moving on. We've got a Carnage up next. I'll just skip that dialogue. Got a Carnage up next. We'll get in there, clear the Carnage. I'm going to use Corvus just because I want the fight to go as quickly as possible. I'm not really interested in these guys. I'm more interested in the bosses, maybe, I guess, rather than the boss. So I can still do a lot of damage through the crit as well, which is kind of nice. Makes things a little bit easier. And there we go. Just finish that off. Probably they need to throw the SP2 there, but I like it. I like it looks so cool and it feels so cool, and yeah, it just does so much damage. Better to make sure, I guess. So we'll keep moving along. Do we go down to Emma? No, we don't. We take on Iron Man. So multiple techs in this path. Luckily, at least Iron Man will give me another charge because he's an Avenger. So, but I mean, we're coming to the end of the path. So this Iron Man would have been great right after, or instead of whoever that first tech that I took out was. Okay. So he's gonna regen. I'm just gonna evade that SP2. And I've actually recently duped my Iron Man as well, so now he's got some pretty good regen on him. He's still like rank 1 or something, but yeah, maybe that will come in handy at some point in my life. Maybe he'll have a perfect node for it. Yeah, so we're gonna go up here against Darkhawk. Once again, an entirely tech path. If you had like Medusa for this path as well, she would work an absolute treat. But you know me, I like my Corvus. So I'm gonna be just very mindful and careful here to not knock Darkhawk down, because if I do, he gets his auto block. And normally I would happily go against him to get the auto block and then pick up the charge, but I don't actually need Corvus for the boss fight, so I'm just trying to get through it as quickly as possible. So here's where the fun starts. You actually have 3 different types of Thanos, and the final boss, Ebony Maw. So the second fight with Ebony Maw. So your Thanos, you have a left and right one, and the left and right one are kind of replicas of the OG Thanos with, you know, the Genesis Stone and all that kind of stuff. A little bit, because I'm not so sure that I'm going to be able to one-shot Ebony Maw here, I'm just conserving and going against the middle Thanos. The middle Thanos is a little bit easier because he's like your classic normal Thanos. Normal SP1, normal SP2. He doesn't have this whole tiered Infinity Stone system where you know, you've got your Genesis Stone and then you've got your other stone and then you've got Death Touch or whatever. So it's I think it's actually split. So I think there's like 3 stones on the left side and 3 different stones on the right side. And if you remember the Thanos fight from the first Avengers movie, it's basically those 2. But instead of being like super tank and super difficult and the final boss, they're a little bit more manageable. And if you've just got a little bit of skill and a decent character matchup, they're not going to be terribly hard. But yeah, I think this one is probably the easiest fight. Still a long fight, especially when I lose my streak like that. But yeah, I probably should have actually just put Corvus for this one and just finished him off. But how can he betray his, you know, how can he betray Thanos? So yeah, so Aegon's fighting against him. And then the next up is Ebony Maw. So what I would do is, until you figure out Ebony Maw, I'd probably go through the middle path because it's probably the easiest. Unless you're very comfortable fighting Infinity Stone Thanos. And I would play around with this Ebony Maw and figure out a way to get him down. Once you're comfortable taking down Ebony Maw without too many losses, like maybe with 1 or 2 champs, you can start building your team around taking Thanos down as well with the Infinity Stones. So maybe 2 or 3, maybe you have 2 or 3 champions there, one of them an Avenger, and you know, 1 to go through the first, second phase, and so on. They're not terribly difficult though. They're only 25,000 PI. So now we're up against Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw is annoying as hell, right? If you don't know how to play against him. He's got enhanced SP2, kinetic transference. He's got the critical setup. He's got this faltering mind thing. Now this falter thing makes you miss stuff like all the time, Not really all the time, but we're going to talk about that. So when you miss, you get a degen on you as well. He can nullify. He casts a lot of deterioration and degen. He's got 3 missions, and he can gain 6 persistent charges. The missions are to nullify a buff from the opponent, to make you lose power, to make you falter and miss, which he will definitely get. And if you don't have the class advantage, so if you falter and miss, he's going to cast a deterioration, which gives you degen. If you, where was it? Landing a heavy gains power. If you don't have the class advantage, your crits are guaranteed to miss. If he's not focused, then he starts focusing for 5 seconds. But that's broken every time you use a heavy attack or an SP3. And then for every 20 persuasion, you falter for 3 seconds and you miss. And at 100, you're inflicted with reduced power gain and ability accuracy for the rest of the fight. So you don't want him to get to 100. And then SP1, he nullifies 1 Fury, Cruelty, Precision, and then SP2, SP3. The main 2 takeaways from this fight is you can't. You've got to break his focus. And you got to break his focus by using a heavy or an SP3, and also you can't use the same combo to end your fight unless you're like me using Wasp and ending it with the heavy, because that will then break his focus and it will break that falter counter. The thing is, if you use like medium, light, light, medium, and medium, light, light, medium again, the second medium is gonna miss, guaranteed. But also any crits are gonna miss. I don't do a very good job here, but also any crits are gonna hit. Corvus is completely useless against him because he just air shots. This is why I brought Science Champs. With Science Champs, you don't have to worry about crits missing. Some champs that would be good against him is probably Crossbones, but you have to be careful because he's going to nullify a lot of your buffs. I still like Wasp against him. I just haven't played that well, but I think if set up correctly, I could probably one-shot him with Wasp. I just need to figure him out a little bit more. But I brought Void here. So you can see up there that there's the sword, which means I think one is medium, one is light. I think this one is medium. So now the next time I'm going to go with a combo, I'm going to end it with a different type of combo. If I've done medium, light, light, medium, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do medium, light, light, light. Now the Folter's counting up, it hits 20, and now I'm going to miss for 3 seconds, and I'm taking degen damage. Just wait for that to go. And also, I think only his first hit actually touches you, so he's really annoying because he's hard to parry. You can't just parry him comfortably. So he becomes really, really annoying, right? So yeah, as you can see, he hits into it, I parry him, but he doesn't get stunned. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. That guaranteed crit misses because... So if it's a normal crit, it's okay, but if it's a guaranteed crit like Corvus, for example, like I say, is absolutely useless against him because all his hits are guaranteed crits. So while he's got the charges on, absolutely misses. SP2 is pretty easy to evade though. But these crits are okay. If it's a natural crit, you can't hit him. So you can still bring in Star-Lord or whatever. You just gotta make sure that... Yeah, you just gotta make sure that you don't bring someone with guaranteed crits like Corvus. Corvus is gonna be absolutely useless against him. Can't stress this enough. And Science advantage is good because you don't have to worry about that. So if you have like Infinity War Captain America, it's going to be fantastic for this fight. Wasp is going to be fantastic for this fight. I didn't do a fantastic job there, but I'm trying to explain kind of like the general concepts. Now that we're able to take him down, I'm going to go through and figure out how to really beat him. And then later on, I'm going to come and I'll upload a video of how to deal with him, or if I can one-shot him, I'll upload that as well. Anyway, hopefully this helped you. This helps you out. If it did, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Kakitiano.